Hi everybody, and welcome to Outdoor Ed with Mary. Before I tell you what our topic is this week, I have a question for you. What is the largest living organism in the world by area? There's a lot of different ways to measure biggest, like you could say heaviest or longest, but what's the largest living organism by area? Believe it or not, it's not a huge animal like a blue whale or an elephant. It's actually a colony of mushrooms. They're called honey mushrooms, and one colony of them in Oregon is so big that it's as big as 2 Fletcher Parks and weighs as much as 2 blue whales. Now maybe you're thinking, hold on Mary, you said the largest living thing. A thing is one. That means like this, one mushroom. A colony of mushrooms, that's not one living thing. But there's actually a lot more to fungus than just the mushrooms that you see poking up out of the soil. This image kind of helps explain it a little bit better. There are 3 parts to every fungus. There's the fruiting body, that's the actual mushroom that you see sticking up out of a log or the soil. And then there's what we call the hyphae. And these are these sort of root-like tendrils that go from the fruiting body and also deep down under the ground. And we call all of those hyphae together the mycelium. A mushroom is just a part of the fungus, the way a flower is just a part of a plant. So you can have one living organism with tons of mushrooms, and that's exactly what's going on in Oregon with the honey mushrooms. Just imagine all that mycelium plus the fruiting bodies together weighs as much as 2 blue whales. It's huge! But there's a lot more that makes mushrooms awesome other than just some of them can get really big. They come in pretty much every color of the rainbow. They provide us with nutritious and delicious food. We use them for medicine. But probably the thing that makes mushrooms the most amazing is what they do for our environment, for our ecosystem. Mushrooms' favorite thing to eat is old wood, dead trees. And the reason that's so amazing and so important is that we have a lot of trees in the forest. Imagine if every time a tree died or fell, it just stacked up on the forest floor. Animals, humans wouldn't be able to get around. We'd have a pile of dead trees like a mile high. So mushrooms are really important because they break that waste down and put it back into the ecosystem. One last thing I want to say about mushrooms before I show you guys some mushrooms that I found that you could find in your yard and that grow in our area is that a lot of people are afraid of mushrooms because it's true that some mushrooms can be very poisonous and make you really sick or even kill you if you ate them. But the thing about them is they're not a snake. They're not going to jump out and bite you. There are no mushrooms that are going to hurt you just from getting up close and looking at them. So of course don't just go touching and poking and picking and eating and tasting every single mushroom you find. That would be really dangerous. But looking at them is completely safe. Hey everyone, so the reason it's a little dark in my room right now is because it is actually storming outside, but I luckily, before it rained, I got a chance to go outside and gather some mushrooms to show you. And I really want to show you some examples of the kinds of mushrooms that you can find around us where we live. So, first one I'm going to show you is this mushroom right here. And the reason I'm wearing gloves is that when I'm handling a mushroom and I don't know what it is yet, it could be poisonous. And I don't want to get that on my hands and then accidentally touch my mouth. So it's just safer if I wear gloves. So, this mushroom is called a lactarius. And if you know what lactose means, like lactose intolerant, lactose means milk or dairy. And if you watch, when this mushroom gets broken, see that oozing out? Oh, it actually has a liquid that comes out that looks like milk. It's not milk, it's called latex, and it does not taste good. You definitely do not want to drink it, but that's a pretty cool mushroom. Here's another mushroom you might find. This is a type of coral mushroom because it looks like coral you would find under the water. These little stringies right here. And this is actually a pretty good orange color. It looks a little more yellow on the camera. But the way you would find it is if my hand is the soil, you would find it growing like that, sticking right up out of the soil. Here's another kind of coral mushroom. This one's sort of a whitish color. And they really look like coral that you would find under the water. This mushroom is called an old man of the woods. And it's a black mushroom that has these spikes on the top. If I hold it to my light, you can kind of see it's really spiky. And actually, some people eat this mushroom. Of course, you should never eat a mushroom you find unless you're with an adult that tells you it's okay. Do not taste a mushroom, even if you think it might be edible, because there are a lot of fakers out there. Mushrooms that want to look like good mushrooms but are actually poisonous. And it takes some science to make sure you have the right thing. And then underneath, it's got these little dots. Those are called pores. Let me show you a better picture of some pores. Those are pores. So some mushrooms have pores, and some mushrooms have what we call gills, like this one has gills. These are called gills. Most mushrooms either have gills, pores, or what we call teeth, which are kind of just like little stalactites hanging down from a cave. This mushroom is a puffball. It kind of looks like a marshmallow with a hole on the top. And I want to show you what happens when you squish a puffball. One second. Okay, I'm going to hold up this black notebook because I think that'll help you see. Watch what happens when I squeeze this mushroom. You see that? Those are called spores. Maybe you've touched a puffball and puffed it before. And those are sort of like seeds for the mushroom. All mushrooms use spores. They're just easiest to see with a puffball. So how do puffball spores get out if there's not a person poking the puffball with their finger? The answer is mostly raindrops. Mushrooms come in all different colors. Here's a little red mushroom. It's so tiny, it's like a piece of macaroni. There's a yellow mushroom. And look at this. This is actually a fungus called the blue stain fungus, and it infects old wood. If you were walking around in the woods and you saw a stick and it looked blue like this, that means it's actually covered in blue stain fungus. And sometimes, if you're super lucky, you can see tiny blue mushrooms coming out. I've only seen it once, but it's really cool. Sometimes you'll find mushrooms that grow on a tree stump, and instead of growing out with a stalk, like this is a stalk, just like the stem of a flower, sometimes instead of that, they're just kind of stuck on the side like this, and we call that a shelf mushroom. See how it looks like a little shelf? There are actually over 1,000 types of shelf mushroom. This mushroom has what we call warts, and those are these sort of little dots that come on the top right here. You'll see a lot of mushrooms have this. Sometimes they're white, sometimes they're brown. I really like this mushroom because it's got a velvety texture. You can kind of see how velvety it looks. And this is called a waxy cap, although I think I would call it a slimy cap. It's kind of falling apart, but look how slimy and wet the cap is. Now it's time for this week's Eco Challenge. Your challenge this week is to find one living fungus growing somewhere near you. Remember that fungus eat old wood, so look for places that have old branches or stumps lying around. Mushrooms also like moisture, so look for places that are very wet and also places that are very dark. Mushrooms do not like a whole lot of sunlight. When you do find your mushroom, look for things like the color, the shape, does it have pores or gills or teeth, and what plants is it growing near. These are all things that can help you determine what kind of mushroom you have later on. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video, and of course, as always, let me know if you have any questions about fungi or mushrooms. I would love to answer those for you. All right, friends, see you next week. Bye.